The second one is...
For me, awareness was really key in my transformation because I came from a culture, or I grew up in a household where being a victim was part of the way we grew up.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to a new episode of the Spiritual Inspired podcast. Visit us at spiritualinspired.ca and Gnostic TV for older episodes. My guests today are Rocio, Aquino, and Angel Orengo. Thank you very much for joining me.
It's fantastic to be here. Thank you so much for having us.
Yes, thank you for this wonderful space, Claudiu.
You are a powerhouse couple, if I may say so. You work together, and you wrote a beautiful book, The Orchid, and you were so kind to send me a copy and challenge me to read 420 pages in less than 10 days to accustom myself with the book and the ideas as part of my research. So I will start with you, Rocio. Maria's story, she travels all around the world, and like her, you also traveled all around the world. So how much of yourself is in Maria's story?
I thank you so much for the beautiful question. What I discovered after going around the world is that I was my thoughts and my beliefs and the way I was growing. So at one point when I was really in Hong Kong and you begin to see other ways of thinking, in that moment you begin to question what are your ideas and for what reason you think the way you think. So curiosity has been part of myself forever. So Mary, of course, is incredible now in me, because at the beginning, believe it or not, I was more the women, and Angel was more the Mary, because he grew up being super chill and with a knowledge very profound. And I observed him for 23 years. And at one point I was always asking, why are you so nice? So of course, after going around the world and trying to find knowledge where everywhere, finally we were able to put it in the book. So that's why Mary is a little bit today for both of us.
Interesting. Yes, because during my interviews with previous guests, we talk about balancing the feminine and the masculine in us, and also looking retrospectively at my life since, let's say, high school. I was more inclined to talk to my feminine or women colleagues, and I was more attracted, and I found more leeway and confidence in talking to them than the men. So right now, going through life and again looking back, I understand that the feminine part, somehow the feminine side, the energy is much more predominant, and that's why what I experienced.
Mhm.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, me too, Claudiu. When I was a kid, there were two nicknames that I would be called. It's little fat kid, which in Spanish sounds much better than it does in English. It's nicer, but also little crying kid, because I was always crying and I didn't understand why. Today, fast forward 50 something years, and I think it was a superpower. It allowed me to shed a lot of pain, a lot of trauma by simply being able to be in touch with my emotions.
Yes. And for those who didn't have the chance to read the book, The Orchid is about a women's only retreat It's a free, it's by invitation only, and it's a limited number of women who will go through a transformational experience in 1 week. And during that week, you take through the book, you take the readers through awareness, gratitude, forgiveness, acceptance, and intention as the main ideas. So let's expand a little bit on these 5 and see what we can bring forward so those listening to us will learn from it.
Beautiful. Yes.
That's wonderful. Look, I mean, really, it's all about the orchid doesn't exist, except it does inside each of us. It's like that sanctuary inside us, inside you, inside we, that allows you to go inside and you get in touch with this transcendental powers like awareness. Let's start with awareness. Awareness is the ability to look at yourself. And when you look at yourself, you can look at your thoughts. We focus on the thoughts, the words, the emotions, and the actions. And what we encourage to do is to separate yourself from yourself and say, why do I think the way I do? Why do I act that way? If you like what you see, by all means, keep doing it. But if you don't, perhaps there's an opportunity to ask yourself, do I want to change that? And if you do, then at least you become aware and you separate in yourself. It's something. You can't change something that you cannot see. So awareness is really critical. The second one is...
For me, awareness was really key in my transformation because I came from a culture, or I grew up in a household where being a victim was part of the way we grew up. So that's why when I changed that, when I was able to see it, thanks to all the traveling around the world, it's like, okay, can I change it? How? And that's why we put it very simple in the novel, so the characters they begin to understand what is consciousness and what is a limiting belief.
And what is energy? There's so much energy that is stored in our bodies. Today, we're realizing that it's really science, right? That there is stored energy from trauma, and that if we don't get rid of it, it really stays there and has an impact in our health and so on. So that's consciousness. The second power, and it's almost like moving into a second stage. If you can see something, then now, if you decide to do something about it, you can try these 3 sort of medicines, 3 forces: gratitude, forgiveness, and acceptance. And, there's so much being said and written about gratitude, forgiveness, and acceptance these days, but gratitude for us really is looking at life with abundance. And as you do, there's changes that happen in your body that start expanding any negativity, any heaviness, and moves it away from you. I've seen in our own family how through gratitude, we can shift energy like this. And in 10 minutes of literally lying on the floor, opening your arms and saying, thank you for as many things as you can think of, you enter into a different vibration, and that changes you. After that, we speak about forgiveness, and that's something that Rocio particularly was searching for a long time.
I was really looking and looking because I was really successful traveling in many places, and then I was not able to forgive what happened 30 years ago. Was horrible. So at one point you think, okay, I'm gonna be free, but no, it doesn't happen outside of us. It's always inside of us. And when I really, Claude, understand this, I become my best friend at 50. So was really a transformation when I begin to understand that forgiving somebody is really letting go that charge that you are carrying with something. Because really what happened 5 seconds ago really doesn't matter. Is what we can do right now in the present moment.
When we speak of forgiveness, we invite people to think of it as almost recharging your battery because you give so much energy to the things that happened, to the people that did it, that at the end you are left with a limited percentage of who you really are to do all the big things that you want to accomplish. So forgiveness is a way to reclaim your power and to then use that towards whatever it is that you want to do. And of course, there's acceptance. And what we say is it's really simple. When life gives you lemons, make the best lemonade that you can make. And so many of us go through life fighting for things and against it and not, just being fluid. And lastly, it's intention. And intention is really about utilizing that reclaimed power that you now have from forgiving, from being grateful, and from accepting to live the most fuller, complete, and loving life that you can think of, the dreams that you have. That is what we mean by intention. And that's what we teach at the Orchid, or Mary teaches at the Orchid, as these women in this beautiful novel go through these 7 days of introspection.
Beautiful. And for that lemonade, use honey, not sugar, please. And
That's right.
when you
That's
mentioned
right.
gratitude, it gave me chills. And to be honest with you, I'm working right now with a 77-year-old woman, and she has trauma. We're talking about forgiveness. She had a very rocky relationship with her mother-in-law, and the
Mm,
mother-in-law is gone. But at 77, she still cannot forgive her for what she went through while she was alive. And I'm trying to teach her and explain to her how she has to behave, how she has to look in the mirror and say, I forgive myself, I forgive you,
mm.
I release you from any karmic connections,
Attachment. Yeah.
attachments. Yes. And it's very hard for her because, like, as Rocio mentioned, and me and this lady grew up in a similar culture. And in our culture, something like that wasn't accepted, wasn't known, wasn't taught. So after a lifetime to come towards the end of your life and go through this type of transformation is not easy.
Yeah.
I know, and this is for your consideration for that amazing lady that you are helping. That's why in the book we put so many techniques, because sometimes when I use all of them, what is in the book, and I remember for example, when you begin to breathe with the sound bowls or things like that, help you to one extent. Another one are the exercise. And so it's a little bit by little that you are removing that heavy energy that you are carrying. And I love to say, like, maybe if you give her an idea of, for example, we are water, right? So this feels like an ice. And the most important part is to try to feel like you are a
Vapor.
vapor. So that is the transcendence when you are heavy and you cannot move because that pain that you are carrying inside feels real. But it's until you really begin to put, for example, light and love, you can melt that ice that is inside of your body.
Yes, and working with her, I realized that the energy in her body started to move. She was never able to feel any type of energy before, and she worked with other people. But since I started working with her, she reports back second day or next day that, yes, I felt it in my third eye or
Yeah.
chakra. So that's amazing for me
Yes.
as, beginning and stepping on this path of helping others to transform.
Yes.
Beautiful, beautiful.
You know,
Thank you for doing that
yes.
beautiful work.
Two things that reminds me of when I read about David Hawkins, and one day someone walked into his office, and with a lot of phobias, and he said, "I have nothing in my medical arsenal to help this person. I'm going to treat her with love." And he started changing. She started changing, and so I can sense that what you're doing is really touching that woman. And the other thing I will say is many of our psychologists and therapist friends are using our book to soften entry into some people who have a lot of difficulty because it gives them a different perspective. And then all of a sudden they open up to concepts that the therapist had been talking to for a long time. And it's helping in that dialogue. So I invite you to suggest it to her because maybe it can help you in that process with her. How beautiful that work that you do. No?
Thank you.
Ah, incredible.
And I agree with you that some specialists are not aware of so many modalities, which alternative modalities. And in fact, I'm taking this knowledge from the interviews from 2020 to 2024 and put these interviews into book formats. So next month, I'm going to launch the first one in a trilogy. It's called Alternative Methods of Healing. So breath work, sound healing, energy healing, crystal, anything you can think of. So people can get an idea and have an option to take the book and go to the specialist. Okay, do you know about this method? Okay, not,
Yeah.
let's do it. Let's find out. Let's do more research. So I don't go through the medical system, which is, based on chemicals and has repercussions on the body.
Absolutely. That's so wonderful. Some of the greatest healing that I've experienced in my life has been through sound, through a meditation, sometimes by simply hugging a tree and really being in that connection. So much of what we experience medically is initiated. Well, some people say everything, but let's just say so much of what we experience in our bodies is really from a thought, from a stored energy from the past. And frankly, if you go as far as thinking that we may live, I believe in it, but maybe not all your audience does, that we live multiple lives. Some of it is also carried from previous lives and previous incarnations. So it's really important to be in tune with your inner self because your inner self becomes really what we experience and see externally.
It's beautiful. I was really sick in the terms of energy and in the terms of trauma. So really, because at one point you saw what happened to the women, of course, that happened to me in different stages. So the most beautiful thing is to begin to really release all that and really writing what we put in the novel is, of course, is a fictional novel because the place doesn't exist, but exists in your heart, right? And then all the therapies and what is happening to the characters, that's why we put it there, because we want people to begin to see that you have options, and the options is no one knows better than you what do you need. And it's very important that you begin to understand how this book can become a manual for you to begin to see the options that are there, and then you choose. And what people report back is being amazing. It's like a bandit for the soul. I love that you open my mind to something different. A friend of mine is like, really, Rocio, this is true? And now after 1 year, her life is totally changed. So that's what we want to bring to your listeners.
Yeah. And speaking about love and energy, I can tell and I can vouch that you both radiate both of them, both these feelings. And I can feel it. And I'm very grateful for bringing this energy to the show.
I thank you so much.
I mean, the only thing I can say to that is namaste. The divine in me sees the divine in you too, Claudio. Thank you.
Thank you. And talking about exercises, I was quite impressed with the novelty of what you brought in the book, especially the one with the blue tape, where you put you stick the tape to the body, and then the women come and express all that anger, and they read the statements. That was a novelty for me, honestly. I don't know how you came up with it, but it was brilliant.
Can I just introduce that?
Yes,
So
please.
part of our, oh, I'm tearing, so I'm gonna, um, part of our journey is to continue learning. As you said, you're gonna put out this book with all these different modalities of healthy healing, of natural and spiritual healing. We wanted to experience as much as we could. So everything we write in the book is something that either she or I or both of us experienced. So it was important for us to be, speaking firsthand. So we went to this course, a 4-day weekend, and one of the things that we had to do was express ourselves in an exercise. And I did mine, and Rocio couldn't figure out what she was going to do. And then early that morning, she said, I got it. Give me tape, give me a marker. I am going, because she's trying to, and then I'm going to leave it. You were trying to.
I'm trying to explain everyone in the course all the things that I overcome. Okay. So I put the blue tape, and what I want to people to understand is, I overcome the idea of my father and then my mother and my abuse, and when I tried to kill myself. So people begin to understand that I was not a shallow person that has everything under control. On the contrary, I was showing them that I was carrying for 30 years a lot of heavy ideas and heavy feelings that I was able to overcome. And the most important part that I want you to listen, your listeners to listen, is I'm not special. You see, it's not a difference between you, me, and them, and anyone, and any one point. But that's why it's important to have these conversations, because if more people see that you can overcome the most difficult traumas and have a healthy life after, instead of going in the area that is you need to suffer all your life, is like a no, okay? We suffer enough. Now you can have another kind of experience. So that is what we want to convey today, is you choose what kind of life you want to have. And doing the blue tape exercise is like a really visual way to, what happened 5 seconds ago doesn't define me.
And when we got back from that course that day, we were still in the middle of writing the book. We were talking and we were like, and I was telling her, that has to be in the book, right? She goes, oh my gosh, are you serious? It was so beautiful to experience that we knew in the moment we started talking about it, that it needed to be a scene, a really powerful scene. And it became that. It has been touching. We're so happy that you felt the same.
Yes, and from my own experience, if you want to talk about trauma with your family, let's say your mother, your father, your siblings, you cannot do that unless you really change yourself first, so you are not being triggered the moment you
Yes.
say the first word, because their reaction will be to defend their action, they defend what they did in the past. So
Yeah.
if you are not changed, you're going to behave the same, and the same trauma will continue, the same bickering will continue. So you really have to change yourself before going back and bringing this subject up with your family or someone else related to you.
Absolutely. That scene, particularly for me, is very special because there's something else that happens. And in there, I remember the words so vividly where it says, the women are there having this tense moment, speaking about, their darkest experiences. And then we say, and it's written, but what they didn't know is that surrounding them, or the teachers and healers were holding hands in what was like a capsule of love, containing them so that they could do that. And what you just said, it's so critical. And sometimes we also just need to have someone close to us being love, thinking of love, being absolutely neutral as we go deep inside and take out those, those spines that are hurting us, and finally removing them from our bodies and our spirit.
Yes, it's exactly what I see sometimes when I do the energy sessions in the body of those I'm working on, like needles. And I just have to remove the needles. Or if the energy has to flow better, I will just insert the needles in the places that have to have them.
That's right.
So
That's right.
could be a both ways process, depending on how you use it.
How beautiful. Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Did you have any other challenges writing the Orchid?
We have many challenges.
Many.
For me, it was very difficult to be 2 years in the same room, writing and writing and writing, and then reviewing, and then writing in English. And when we finished the English, we adapted to the Spanish. And at the same time, we decided, we're going to do an audiobook. And it's okay. But you know what I love doing in the process of investing all this time to really have the information? We did a class with a teacher,
A theater teacher.
a theater teacher, for us to experience what each character was really experiencing the moment. So I've been having a very difficult life all my life, but I never experienced a panic attack. And in this class, I experienced for first time a panic attack, and was, well, super difficult, but it's incredible to experience a panic attack and then go out from that. So it was more, when we were writing, you really can feel what the character was feeling. So that give you that perspective, that intimacy, that really to be fiel, ¿cómo se dice?
Faithful.
Faithful to what is the story of every person, every thought, was really a beautiful process to do. Was difficult, was a challenge, but now that I look back, and is important that everyone that is in the challenge now, remember, is gonna pass. The challenge is gonna pass, and you're gonna move from there.
There were many moments that, for example, I've spoken about this when we finish a chapter, the chapter is perfectly written, and we're like so excited, and we go to sleep. And then the next day she wakes up, and I say she because she was dreaming a lot and receiving a lot of downloads. It was amazing. She wakes up and she goes, I have to tell you something. I'm like, what? She goes, Jennifer, she's not a widow. She is a divorcee. And we're like, okay, what does that mean? It's like, we have to write it again as a divorcee. We're like, no. So there were moments like that. And then there were moments that were heavy, because it's not like the transformation in our lives happened and stopped. The transformation kept going through the writing of the book. And in fact, as we wrote the book and we wrote it and rewrote it and worked with other people to craft it and to polish it, we continued to grow and expand. And I kid you not, Claudiu, we would cry every day. There was a scene in which one of the women stands up and says, this happened to me and it doesn't define me. And of course, we're thinking of ourselves. Both of us were sexually abused. I was sexually abused as a child and Rocio as an adult. And this particular woman stands up and says, I was sexually abused. I suffer from a a nutritional problem. And it's the first time I'm saying it out loud. When we said this and we were reading the book, again, the energy, moves through you. And there was a lot of cleansing going on. So, but it was just, oh my gosh, it was one of the most beautiful experiences in the world to birth this book, to really be a conduit for the inspiration that came from the heavens, from above, from God, from the universe, to the two of us, and to be able to do it together, a total biggest blessing in the world.
Yeah. I mean, for those who never wrote a book, they won't understand that you start, but you don't know exactly how you're going to finish it. But even if you know how you're going to finish it, you don't know what's going on in between. And
That's
I
right.
had to kill a character in my first book, and no one expected that. I had to molest a child in order to twist the whole plot, and someone said I stopped reading the book at that particular moment. I just couldn't go forward.
Right.
Others said I read it to the end because I wanted to see how that child will recuperate, what's going to happen to him. So in the end, it was happy ending, but the people reacted differently to that particular scene. So we transform ourselves for sure in the writing process, and we
Yes.
don't know how the end result will be 100%.
Not to mention of the many days that go without writing, where you're like,
Oh,
okay,
yes, for
am I
sure.
never going to write again?
I mean, I started my third volume in the Water trilogy. I wrote 10,000 words, and then I haven't touched it for another year or so. So I have to
Right.
go back to that after I'm done with this book and other projects, because more and more projects are coming, and they have they are time sensitive. The
Yeah.
third book is not that time sensitive, and I see the fact that the postponing it made sense because more ideas came to life, more technologies I can use in the book because it's kind of a diary. So everything happens for a reason. So
Yes.
I
Totally.
don't worry.
Yes.
Totally. For your, at one point, we went to Egypt. And I remember being there, and I was receiving many ideas for the book. And that's why at one point it's like you need to have an arch, and everyone needs to when they decide to cross the arch is because they are deciding to really take control of their life. So at one point is like for me it's very powerful that a scene, because if you can imagine reading the book and then saying the words that we put in the word, and then after crossing any door, is a door of transformation. Has a beautiful symbol.
It's funny you said that. I just remembered that I use a stone arch in my first book. They were going to the jungle to kidnap this special kid. So a lot of things, again, looking back, I wrote in my first book unconsciously. They just came through me, as you said. And later on, I realized how much symbolism is in that book. It's
Yes.
just unbelievable.
Yes, how incredible is, right?
Yes. Another amazing aspect of the book is the fact that these women feed on very good food. Everything is organic, everything is local. And we're at the point in the interview where I have to insert a very serious question. If you could host a dinner party with three historical or spiritual figures, who would they be and what topics would you be the most excited to discuss with them?
I would love to talk to Nikola Tesla, about, of course, energy. Is like, please tell me all your discoveries. At one point will be one of my in the dinner. Do you have Of course.
I will mention this one because when people ask us, what were you channeling? What was inspiring you when you wrote the book? And one of the things that we have spoken about, we think that we were channeling an energy, a feminine energy from Mary Magdalene, because it just many reasons. We had the opportunity to go to the cave in the south of France, et cetera, et cetera. And I would love to sit down with her and Jesus
Yes.
because they spend so much time together and really ask them questions about their relationship, about the role that she played in,
in those 3 years.
In those 3 years in his life and together in each other's lives. Because I believe now, after having gone through such a deep transformation, that, for example, the fourth commandment that says, honor thy mother and thy father, it's really about honoring the feminine and the masculine energy inside all of us. And I have to imagine that there are instances, and there's been many instances throughout the world in which that has been true. And I think that the times of Jesus and Mary Magdalene may be one of those, and I would love to hear more about it.
Nice. I mean, my previous guest mentioned Tesla as well, Yeshua and Buddha. So you are very, very close to the same guests. Everyone is aiming to find the truth, to get closer to the teachings.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Yes, of course, if we want to go more elevate, we can go to las tablas de thought.
Yes.
Yes.
Deeper into the previous civilizations, right? And
thought and really always Rumi. Imagine being at dinner with Rumi and he saying all these beautiful things. Yes,
we would never eat. We would just be, oh my goodness, everything that would come out of his mouth would be just absolute wisdom.
Nice. Rocio and Angel, if you have the opportunity to build the orchid, have you thought what will be the ideal location?
The ideal location is to be in every city in the world. Because if we can provide these kind of centers all over, that is a safe space that you can go and really open your heart, your mind, your body to another kind of treatments where you can really experience the healing and realignment of the energy. I would love to have one in every city in the world, because really one place in the north of California right now is not enough.
What a great question. We've when we first started writing the book and talking about the orchid, we never thought that it would be a real place. But so many people read the book and say, where is this place? I want it to exist. I want it to attend. And that's just so overwhelming that we really do hope and pray that it becomes that. And then the other side of us, which is perhaps more corporate, more business-like, with all the experience we have living and working around the world, says, well, if we can have so many restaurants that have so many branches around the world, and they all serve a purpose to feed somebody, to share a product, et cetera, we can apply that same logic to this, because this type of healing really does need to be accessible. At the very least, in every continent, but in every city is not impossible. There's nothing impossible. We've already seen that too many times.
Do you see McDonald's?
Yeah.
So imagine that the place that you can go and feel better about yourself. And it's like let's put this idea of, instead of focus ourselves in the drama, is how we focus ourselves and put all our attention in abundance, creativity, joy, and love.
Yes, we are meant for everything you just said. But to have to be aware again and grateful for the gifts.
Yes.
Totally. Yes. The secret is joy.
Yeah.
Is the vibration of love and to be, right? The universe does not give you what you want, it gives you what you are. And
Indeed.
so as we vibrate in that and we help other people do that,
Everyone wins.
everyone wins. We can build a better world. Not even build it. It will change simply
Why
by
do we
us being-
need a better world? You know, why? I mean, some people don't want that. So, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I get it. I get it.
Rocio, in November, my wife and I visited your beautiful country, and we really enjoyed there. We visited some of the sacred sites and energetically charged sites. How do you feel the energy of the place when you visit?
You know, it's incredible. Every place in the world who has energy really is unique, and we need to experience. I've been exposed to the pyramids, and since I was a kid, very young, I was always in the top of the pyramid, in the center, and I really didn't know what was the meaning of anything, because you really don't know. But it's not a coincidence that I came from those places, from the Mayan culture. So I've been in Palenque so many times, and now I can tell you more and more, my connection with Earth is really profound in so many ways that I only begin to comprehend all the how important is for us to understand that we are all connected.
Yes,
And
indeed.
how important is for us to keep really our own battery at full of joy, full of this incredible power that we have inside of us.
Indeed. I know that you guys have two girls. How do they react to your success?
Of course, they don't care.
We're just mom and dad. But to be honest, what was really beautiful during our process of introspection and writing the book is that, and we've spoken openly about this, as we started to change, they started to change. The energy permeated them, and they began to look at us differently, speak differently. One day, one of our daughters had a difficulty at school, and she called us and she was crying. And of course, as any parent would, was like, my goodness, what do you need? Can we help you? She goes, I'm okay. I've already cried. I've already journaled, and I'm going to see the school psychologist in a few minutes. And we were like, wow, right? So things like that began to happen. And we were so absolutely joyous that they were really accepting this as their own tools. But more importantly, Claudia, there's something really special about knowing that if you teach these lessons, this way of thinking to young people, they can self-heal. They can know when they've gone too far, when they need help.
They know themselves better
Yes.
before, and instead of waiting until you are 50 like me, they know now, because all the masters tell you have two options to learn the lessons, the difficult one or the easy one. So keep telling them, please ask the universe that you learn the lessons in the easy way, because I was really in the difficult one. And I can see the difference right now for them. They are thriving. They love it, of course, because they saw my change. Instead of being in automatic, I changed, and I was in automatic. I was a victim. Was normal for me to put them down and really don't believe in them. And now that I change, it's like I believe in them. I don't put them down. I respect them. I love them. It's like I have more joy for life. So of course they love it, compared to, wow, this is incredible. And just 1 second, I just remember an anecdote that happened to me when I was in a pyramid in Tulum. At one point, we have our first kiss a night before,
This is
okay?
25 years ago.
Okay, and we are there, and I was the only local. So I take all the people from Sony to take us to, I'm gonna show you how beautiful is my country, right? So I take them to the pyramids in Tulum. And at one point, you were allowed to go in the top and sit down. So we'd sit down, and at one moment I decide, I'm gonna meditate. So I begin to meditate. And at one point, the wind comes to you, and it's like I listen the voice of my mother, who, but that time she was dead probably 10 years. And I listen her voice and say, you find him. Is he? And I was, what? And of course, I asked again, are you sure? And she's, yes, is this one. And it's like, oh my God. So yes, these things happen. And it's that small voice that is intuition, that you are connected with something bigger that comes to you and talks to you.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
beautiful. And I'll share with you a tip. If someone will ask you this, I mean, anytime now, if you are a newlywed, you can say, yes, newlywed 25 years ago. This is what I'd say, yes, newlywed 30 years ago. So it's fun.
Yes, it's true. I'm gonna take it. Thank you.
How many years have you been married?
This year it will be the 31st.
Wow, congratulations to you and
Thank
your
you.
wife.
Thank you. Are you guys planning of writing another book?
Yes, the hope is to continue expanding storytelling and focusing on storytelling that enhances humans and leaves them better than it found them. If you recall our novel, one of the things about it is that we spend very little time speaking about what happened to the women before they got to the orchid. In a way, yes, what happened is important. We need to look at it, we need to analyze it. But what we really wanted to focus on is on the tools that are available for them to heal and to move forward. So the goal would be to write more stories like that. We launched our publishing label, which is called For the Highest Good. And the idea is for it to serve not only as our publishing label, but really for the publishing label of other people who want to tell similar stories. And eventually also make these available in audiovisual works, whether through television or film, because many people don't read. And also, there's a lot of television out there without any judgment, just facts, where let's say that the lessons and ideas that are being implanted in people regularly is really ideas that need to change, right? For example, there's one in around the world, the novellas, the Spanish language novellas. One of the things that say is the mother-in-law and the daughter-in-law will never get along. They will fight forever. And I think there's an opportunity to change that. They can still make dramatic television and focus on people having really strong relationships with each other. And we would like to tell more stories that way.
Yeah, I think that thing between between daughter-in-law and mother-in-law happens only in the Turkish dramas, so.
Totally. No, it's global. And there's an opportunity to really tell stories in a different way and teach how we can get out of those situations and learn from them and use them for our own edification and growth.
And have you thought about taking your concept and the exercises from the book and apply them in partnership with existing retreats or people who organize their own retreats?
Yes, of course. We are planning, you know, I see a possibility humongous because we have a lot of clients in the world that they are beginning to see the new operating system, if you can say it like that. It's like they are still, they don't know if this works, but more and more I see that when people see somebody having fun, enjoying life, being successful, and you begin to tell them, I'm not special. I only begin to understand how life works. They are, tell me more. So at one point, we have like a 90% of the population in the world that is going to be our customers. Yours, us, is like we have a lot of work to do. Schools is so much.
We're adapting the messages of the Orchid. We've already made presentations to business women, to parents in schools, to students of young age. So I believe that there is an incredible amount of opportunity to continue spreading the message. Also, we hope that it serves as inspiration to people who have retreat centers and spas around the world, that these type of different approaches can be added, subtly added, even if it's just one exercise, that it's considered to be different than the type of treatments that are already given. If they serve as inspiration, it would be wonderful. But the idea is to continue spreading the message, to write more books, and to continue bringing love to the world. And
Yes,
through it, contributing to the healing of humankind.
Yes, TV shows that when you see them, you feel better about yourself. And it's like, okay, we can do it differently. And that's the point of the book. When you read it, you don't feel bad about your situation right now. On the contrary, you begin to understand and be kind to yourself.
yeah, and I am a big proponent of changing the education system and introducing this type of healthy methods like breath work, meditation,
Yes.
safe diet into schools, and we have to start early, maybe kindergarten level, while still trying
Yes.
to address the teen level age. Otherwise we won't see transformation.
And yeah.
So, Clau, I have a question for you. What the book, what did it answer to you?
It's great that it covers many situations, real situations in the family, like Nicole's situation where her partner is upset because she doesn't come forward as a gay person with her parents, which are Catholic, very religious. With Olivia, who, went through an abusive relationship with her father. And then Jennifer, as you mentioned, with the divorce, and the Stephanie with rape being in that type of industry. So it covers a lot of real situations, and people will, and women especially, will identify themselves. So that's why I think the book has a nugget of wisdom, knowledge, and real life for a lot of people.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
again, I was amazed with the detail of the retreat. Each room was different, mimicking, and in fact, it was real nature, embedded into nature very seamlessly, and very, very detailed. I was amazed. I mean, I write, and people tell me, my readers tell me, you are very detailed, but I love the details you mention in every single building, and the activities and the food. So yeah, beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
The
you.
Orchid is a combination of so many experiences from around the world. We stayed in some beautiful tree houses and hotels and caves in Italy. And so it was really just the amalgamation of all of these things. Because our thing was, why does going inside and looking at our hurt and our traumas need to happen in a dirty, not so happy place? It could happen in paradise. And in fact, when we first wrote the book, it really was meant to kind of bring the symbolism of going back to that pure, beautiful place inside of us. So that's why the Orchid
It's a paradise.
is paradise.
But the
Yeah.
paradise, remember, is inside of us.
Yes.
Yes. A final question for both of you. What's your relationship with God?
Mm. Mm. Is incredible. It's incredible. You know, I have a deeply connection when I meditate. And then when I go in the day, I forgot and then I became human and then I suffer and then I laugh at myself because it's like, okay, you forgot. So you come back, I come back. And then I go again and it's like it's so incredible to understand that we are one.
Hmm. Um, ah, Such a beautiful question. Thank you for asking it. We have a joke between us that it's not a joke, it's kind of a reminder. Sometimes when we're approaching our daily lives and doing this work and the project and planning, and mind you, the book has been out for only 1 year. We didn't know a year ago whether this was going to actually connect or not connect, right? We had those fears. And once in a while, on a daily basis, you get this feeling of, am I going down the right path? And you get fear,
The doubts.
and the joke that we're in, the line that we're supposed to tell each other is, who is your God? Right? And the answer is, it's the joke. It's because if your God is the fake God, the not so powerful one, then yes, be afraid. Be really, really afraid. But if you believe in that power, if you believe in the power that helped us throughout our lives, heal our traumas, write an amazing story that is transforming people's lives, and that every day puts you almost on your knees of gratitude and humility, and has a legion of angels standing behind you, then you have nothing to fear. And so
Yes.
my relationship with God is that it is just infinite and powerful. It is my friend. It's just, it's
Beautiful. And
beautiful.
it's funny that you mentioned doubts because yesterday, while driving, I was listening to a podcast, a spiritual related podcast. And that lady, through what she was saying, put so much doubt in what I am doing while helping others. And last night in meditation, this is what I was asking for. Show me some clearance, give me some guidance that what I'm doing is the right thing.
Yeah.
Because I think from time to time we have to ask this question.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's why, Cloud, we need to have more conversations like this one, because it's like the world, and that's why it's so important the book that we did, that the women see that they are not alone in the process, that they begin to understand that when we heal in community, it's easier to check, to see how together we are strong instead of separate. So that's why it's so important that you have this space, because more people begin to understand, okay, they have, even though that they look successful and well put and everything, they continue to have doubts. Yes, it's normal. That's
Yeah.
the game of life, right? That at one point I was asking, can you tell me what is going to be the future? And it's like, no, that is not the point. The point is that you begin to discover little by little and you begin to understand your humanity and
Yes.
enjoy the possibility to listen, the possibility to touch, is really enjoy your body, because if not, we're gonna be out of our bodies. And then, but coming here and experience and being human is so beautiful.
Yes, and through what you just said, it means that you are against transhumanity. That's not a good thing. Sorry, I'm joking.
The more we've traveled around the world, the more we've seen, the more we've gone to different cultures and places and met people, the more you realize that God is kind, it's everywhere. It is waiting for you to discover it. And when you say, here I am, because there's many times where it's almost like something happens and I put my head down out of reverence, as if I'm here. One day I'll tell you this. One day I was in a meditation, Claudiu, and I got a little cocky in my meditation. And it was like I was helping people and I was coaching, and the voice says, "Are you ready for the next one?" And I said, "I got this." And the voice came out and said, "Whoa, slow down." Actually, it was a little bit tougher than that. Is, you don't have this, we have this. And I just put my head down and I said, "I'm sorry. Yes, we have this." And it's just so beautiful because it's such a powerful force that the moment you embrace it, it really takes you on a journey. And we are living it right now. It's truly blessed, transformational, and it tells you of our ability to do just about anything we want. And all we have to do is vibrate in that beautiful energy. For a reason, the Bible says God is love. And I think we sometimes focus too much on the God part and not enough on the love part. But we are certainly living in the loving, and it is just absolutely beautiful.
Yes, and for me, to dismiss the arrogance out of my daily routine is to remind myself to stay humble and rooted. I ask God to do that for me. And
Yes.
I hope I can achieve, I know I can achieve that, not hope. I know
Yes.
I achieve this goal by reminding myself several times a day.
Yes. How beautiful.
That is beautiful. Thank you.
Once again, thank you very much for your lovely time and for your energy and love. And we'll keep in touch. We'll talk about your second book when it's going to be ready. And once again, thank you.
Thank you, Claudiu. What a beautiful experience to be here with you in this space. Thank you.
Thank you. And to my viewers, thank you for watching. Leave a comment, share it with your friends. Visit us at gnostictv.com and spiritualinspired.ca. And until next time, love and gratitude.